Hi, I'm William,
And I'm Kat.
and that means this is Info on the Go.
We're answering questions you want to know. Well, William, what are we talking about today?
How about the second state that ratified the United States Constitution?
We must be talking about Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania's history of human habitation extends thousands of years before the foundation of the colonial province of Pennsylvania in 1681. Archaeologists believe the first settlement of the Americas occurred at least 15,000 years ago. That is a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
During the last glacial period, though it is unclear when humans first inhabited present-day Pennsylvania. But between 10,000 and 16,000 years ago, Native Americans crossed the two continents, arriving in North America. Um, Meadowcroft Rock Shelter
Mm-hmm.
in Jefferson Township includes the earliest known signs of human activity in Pennsylvania and prepares all of North America, including the remains of a civilization that existed over 10,000 years ago and possibly predated the Clovis culture. Wow, that right there,
That is substantial.
that is yeah, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
By 1000 CE, in contrast to their nomadic hunter-gatherer ancestors, the native population of Pennsylvania had developed agricultural techniques and mixed food economy. Wow, that's crazy too. So they're starting to farm a little bit and they're starting to hunt a little bit. But
Right, right. Before European colonization of the Americas began, at least two major Native American tribes inhabited Pennsylvania. The first, which is inhabited, the first Lenape, which inhabited the eastern region of the state, then known
and
as.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Kat, but I was going to say the Lenape, we talked a lot about them in our Delaware um,
Mm-hmm.
show, so we're just going to kind of glaze over some of it here.
Right. Then known as the Lenape. It included most of present-day New Jersey and the Lee Valley in Delaware Valley regions in eastern and southern Pennsylvania. The Lenape's territory ended somewhere between the Delaware River and the east and
So,
in the
sure.
east and the Susquehanna, that's right, river in the central Pennsylvania. The second tribe, the Susquehannock, were based in western Pennsylvania from New York State in the north to West Virginia in the southeast, including the Susquehanna, Allegheny,
Yeah.
and Monongahela rivers near present-day Pittsburgh. Whew.
Uh, yeah, you got that one right off. I'll look that one up. That one's a tongue twister for sure.
Oh, I was trying real hard. I feel like that sounded really silly, though.
Um, hey, can't do no worse than me. I still haven't got Hippocrates right.
Oh, hey, you did it there.
In the 17th century, the Dutch and the English each claimed both sides of the Delaware River as part of their colonial lands in America. The Dutch were the first to take possession by June 3rd, 1631. The Dutch began settling the Delaware Peninsula by establish
Delmarva?
Delmarva, okay,
Delmarva, yeah.
Delmarva Peninsula by establishing the
Oh,
Siswanadale,
Zoo. Zwan.
Swanandale,
That sounds good. I
yeah,
like that one.
colony on the site of present day Lewis, yeah, Delaware. In 1638, Sweden established the New Sweden colony in the region of Fort Christina on the site of present day Wilmington, Delaware. New Sweden claimed and, for the most part, controlled the lower Delaware River region, including parts of present-day Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, but settled in the colonists there.
Between 1638 and 1655, a southeast portion of the state was part of New Sweden, a Swedish colony established as a haven for religious and political tolerance. The colonial era province of Pennsylvania was known for its relatively peaceful relations with native tribes, innovative government systems, and religious pluralism.
In 1681, King Charles II granted a large piece of his North American land holdings along with the North Atlantic Ocean coast to William Penn to offset debts he owed his father. The admiral and politician Sir William Penn. Um, the land included the present day states of Pennsylvania and Delaware. The following year, in 1682, Penn left England for what was then the British America. Sailing up Delaware Bay and the Delaware River, past earlier Swedish and Dutch riverfront colonies in what is present day Newcastle, Delaware. On this occasion, the colonists pledged allegiance to William Penn as their pri-
Proprietor.
proprietor. I don't know why I can't speak. And the First Pennsylvania General Assembly was held. And before we go any further, we're not going to get into the whole Mason-Dixon line. We did a whole show on that. At this point, we'll just refer you to that.
Right. William Penn was an English writer, religious thinker, and influential Quaker. Penn, an advocate of democracy and religious freedom, was known for his amicable relations and successful treaties with the Lenape Native Americans who had resided in Pennsylvania prior to European settlements in the state. Penn grew up during the rule of Oliver Cromwell, who succeeded in leading a Puritan rebellion against King Charles I. We are skipping over a lot here because we could not do a whole show in this time period.
Yeah.
Before we move on, let's talk about Quakers and Puritans. First, what is a Quaker?
There.
Mm-hmm.
All right. A Quaker is a member of the Religious Society of Friends, a Christian movement founded in England in the 17th century by George Fox. Quakers are known for their emphasis on simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and stewardship, often summarized by the acronym SPICES. Here's an overview. Core beliefs. Quakers believe that everyone has a direct connection to God, referred to as the inner light or that of God in everyone. This eliminates the need for clergy and hierarchy in church structures. Try saying that all at once. Quakers are committed to nonviolence and have historically been active in peace movements, opposing wars, and promoting reconciliation. They value plain living and often avoid material excess or obsession. Quakers were among the first to advocate for equality and the abolition of slavery, gender equality, and social justice. Worship. Quakers gather for meetings for worship, which can be either unprogrammed or programmed. Unprogrammed meetings, silent gatherings where participants speak only if they feel led by the Spirit. Let's see. Historically, so some of the contributions that Quakers have been influential in social justice movements, including the abolition of slavery, which we talked about, the work of Quaker abolitionists like John Woolman, women's suffrage and prison reform. Wow, they were way ahead of their game.
Mm-hmm.
Advancing peace and nonviolence. Quaker founded American Friends Service Committee, which won a Nobel Peace Prize. There are some misconceptions about Quakers. Quakers are not Amish or Mennonites, though they share some of the same values like simplicity. While historically Christian, modern Quakers have diverse beliefs. Some identify as Christian, while others embrace a broader spirituality. Quakers are known for living their values through activism, community building, and quiet reflection, striving to create a more equal liberty and peace, equality in the world and peaceful world. Jeez, I'm all over the place.
The Puritans were a group of English Protestants in the 16th and 17th centuries who sought to purify the Church of England of practices they considered too closely aligned with Roman Catholicism. They believed the Church of England retained too many elements of Catholic ritual and governance, which they found incompatible with their interpretation of Scripture. And the key features of Puritan beliefs, biblical authority. Puritans emphasized the authority of the Bible over church traditions or hierarchical structures. Um, Moral rigor. They stressed a strict moral code and disciplined, modest lifestyle as a way to honor God. Many Puritans adhered to the Calvinist doctrine of predestination,
Predestination.
which teaches that God has already determined who will be saved. Simplicity in worship. They rejected elaborate rituals, ornate church decorations, and hierarchical church governance in favor of simpler, more direct forms of worship. They would have an impact on William Penn and the frame of government for Pennsylvania.
William Penn's frame of government for Pennsylvania, initially established in 1682, was a groundbreaking document that outlined the governance of the colony. It combined principles of religious freedom, representative government, and fairness. Here's a breakdown of how it was set up. So, features of the Pennsylvania Constitution in 1682 had religious freedom. Penn, a Quaker, ensured freedom of worship for all settlers. The government did not reinforce a state religion, allowing diverse faiths to coexist peacefully. The colony's government included an elected assembly and council. That was huge too.
Mm-hmm.
The council proposed laws, and the assembly held the power to approve or reject them. You can see some of that played out in the Constitution.
Right.
The governance framework encouraged participation and representation. William Penn served as the colony's proprietary governor, but his powers were limited by the governing framework. So they had separation of powers. There was an attempt to balance power between the governor, the council, and the assembly. Land ownership and rights. Penn offered generous terms to settlers, allowing them to own land and participate in government. This attracted a diverse group of immigrants seeking freedom and economic opportunity. Protection of individual rights. The Constitution emphasized fairness in governance, protection for property, and equal treatment under the law. The frame, so it kind of kept evolving. So 1701, Penn issued the Charter of Privileges, which re-advised the original frame of government, and it expanded legislative powers of the Assembly. It established the right to amend the government structure, ensured a degree of self-rule for Pennsylvania's residents. So, I mean, a lot of what I just read, was groundbreaking for the time, and you know,
Absolutely.
you could see a lot of it in the Constitution that was written, you know, um,
Right.
for the United States itself.
Exactly. And it just shows how true of a melting pot we are.
Yes, it takes all kinds to make the United States.
Exactly. William Penn's Constitution became a model for democratic governance and influenced later American constitutional frameworks. It reflected Enlightenment ideals and Penn's Quaker beliefs in equality, justice, and the dignity of all people. In 1740, Benjamin Franklin founded the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. The university is one of 9 colonial colleges, the first college established in Pennsylvania and one of the first in the nation. Today, it is an Ivy League university, which is routinely ranked among the world's best universities.
That's that is crazy. Founded in 1740.
Right.
Ben Franklin was all over the place.
For sure. So, with all this beliefs in equality and justice and the dignity of all people, I'm wondering, because of the time period, did William Penn own slaves or not?
No, he was definitely against slavery,
All right.
and yeah, he was definitely against slavery.
Well, good.
And he
I would
fought
hate to
for,
find out the man was a hypocrite.
yeah, and he really, really advocated for the abolition of slavery.
All right.
So the first Continental Congress was a meeting of delegates of 12 of the 13 colonies held from September 5th to October 26th in 1774 at Carpenter's Hill in Philadelphia. At the beginning of the American Revolution, the meeting was organized by the delegates after the British Navy implemented a blockade of the Boston Harbor and the Parliament of Great Britain passed the Punitive Intolerance Acts in response to the Boston Tea Party. And we're just gonna do a whole thing on the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah, there was a lot that led up to that.
Yes.
The Second Continental Congress, which was from about 1775 to 1781, was the meeting of delegates from the 13 colonies that united in support of the American Revolution and the Revolutionary War, which established American independence from the British Empire. The Congress constituted a new confederation that it first named the United Colonies of North America, and in 1776 renamed the United States of America. The Congress began convening in Philadelphia on May 10, 1775, with representatives from 12 of the 13 colonies after the battles of Lexington and Concord.
The Second Continental Congress authored and signed the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia. But when Philadelphia fell to the British in the Philadelphia Campaign, the Continental Congress moved west, where it met at the Lancaster Courthouse on Saturday, September 27th, 1777, and then to New York. In New York, the Second Continental Congress adopted the Articles of Confederation, largely authored by Pennsylvania delegate Dixon. Yeah, Dickinson. Is that how you would say that? Dickinson? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That formed 13 independent states into a new union. Later, the Constitution was written, and Philadelphia was once again chosen to be the cradle of the new nation. The Constitution was drafted and signed at the Pennsylvania State House in Philadelphia, now known as Independence Hall, the same building where the Declaration of Independence was previously adopted and signed in 1776. I have been to Independence Hall. It is
Really?
amazing. Yes.
I want to go. I was just thinking about how I would like to take a trip to Pennsylvania.
And I wish some of the stuff that we're talking about in this podcast about Pennsylvania, I wish I'd have known when I went. It would have
Right,
made it a much a much better trip for sure. I
right.
mean, whenever we're on vacation and we go somewhere that's new, I always try to look up something that you don't think about. Like I don't really necessarily like the touristy stuff. I like to get off the beaten path and learn a little bit about the
The
history of
place.
stuff. Yeah.
Right. On December 12th, 1787, Pennsylvania was the second state to ratify the United States Constitution, 5 days after Delaware became the first. At the time, Pennsylvania was the most ethnically and religiously diverse of the 13 colonies. Because a third of Pennsylvania's population spoke German, the Constitution was presented in German so those citizens could participate in the discussion about it. That's
That would
pretty
have
cool.
yeah, that is amazing there. The Pennsylvania state capital is the seat of government for the U.S. state of Pennsylvania, located in downtown Harrisburg. The building was designed by architect Joseph Miller Hudson in 1902 and completed in 1906 in a Burex Arts
Beaux Arts
Boax.
Star.
Oh, you know what? Because it is French, right?
Yes.
Boax art style
There's
with
no X sound. It's just Beaux
Bow. Bow
Arts.
Arts. So did I say Boax?
Yes.
Oh, my bad. Bow Arts style with decorative Renaissance themes throughout.
I don't speak French, but I know that word.
Well, it wasn't. I'm glad I didn't say something like Botox.
Today, the population of Pennsylvania is estimated to be 13,778,751. There we go.
There you go.
As of July 1st, 2024, this is a 0.6 increase from the population estimate base of April 1st, 2020. Pennsylvania is the fifth most populated state in the United States after California, Texas, Florida, and New York.
Wow.
That's
The,
crazy. I mean, Pennsylvania is not very big either.
no, and California is, I don't know how big California compared to Pennsylvania would be, but I mean, you got two big states down there, California and Texas,
Right.
and then New York. And so, wow, the fifth most
Mm-hmm.
populated state. Huh. Pennsylvania has a lot of deep history that we could start a whole podcast series. However, we are limited to time.
Pennsylvania will be back during our Civil War episode.
So, Kat, I mean, I thought this was enlightening. I really like the fact that we're doing, the states in order as they ratified the United States Constitution. Um,
Right.
Kind of learning more about the states, and their rich history. Like I never, like Pennsylvania. It's crazy getting how it got its roots from William Penn
Hmm.
and his Quaker background. And I'm just thinking, in Pennsylvania, I know as we talked about a lot of the stuff that we see in the Constitution, he was already doing, you know,
Right.
um,
He was
bef-
doing it before it was cool.
yes,
Um, and I like that it was very inclusive and trying very hard to be equal throughout
yes, absolutely.
because that was very rare for the time.
Yeah, yeah. And then, I know there was a lot of advocates for the abolition of slavery, and I'm glad that Pennsylvania was one of them.
Right. No, same.
Like and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Leave us a review or send us show ideas. That we love that stuff.
And you can do that on our Facebook page at Info on the Go.
Hmm.
Text us using the link in the show notes.
Till next time.
Stay curious.